Well, listen, praise the Lord, everybody. Listen, I know it's 8:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I want you to join in as we start a brand new thing here at Paradise. Paradise presents Between the Pages. Listen, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have you tonight as your e-host for this new thing that we're doing at Paradise, our book club. We have some exciting things that we're going to be bringing to you every single month throughout the year 2022. And if God says so, we'll keep it going in 2023 and beyond. I want you to know that this is the time of the season in the children of God's life where we must do what? We have to pivot. And so tonight we're going to open up this conversation with our book club Between the Pages on the book called Pivot by Jenny Blake. So listen, first is on the line and she has some special guests. Let's go and hear about Pivot by Jenny Blake.
Great evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for chiming in, for joining in with us on tonight. I am really excited. Tonight, we kick off our book club journey throughout this year. And I am super excited because I enjoy reading, I enjoy books. You can ask my family, I have books everywhere. And I just enjoy it because what I have learned is that it opens your mind, it opens your discovery, it allows you to travel to different places. Depends on the type of books that you enjoy. But I'm so grateful tonight here at Greater Paradise that we have an opportunity to jumpstart our book club journey here at Greater Paradise. And so I am so super grateful. And listen, you all that are watching us here tonight by way of social media, Facebook and YouTube, if you haven't purchased the book, listen, do yourself a favor, even after tonight, grab it, read it. And look, it's so many great nuggets that we won't even be able to cover absolutely everything. But we want to be sure that we bring you the most important nuggets that we feel will be most beneficial to you in your journey. And look, what I like about this is that these books are not just for the body of Christ, they're for everybody. And so because we are a part of the body of Christ, I like the fact that we're able to introduce it to you all and that we're able to engage one another with these books. So listen, I can go on and on and on about the importance of having great books into your life and how it's good to always read. And, we read our Bible. That's not even a question, but it's good to expand our vocabulary. It's good to expand our library, I guess I should really say, as it relates to all different types of books that we could bring in. So without further ado, I do have some special guests that will be joining me on tonight as we venture into this discussion to talk about this particular book. So the first person that I want to bring on is Miss Melissa Harrell. Come on in, Miss Melissa.
Hi, Lady Mel.
Great evening.
Yes, great evening. How are you?
How are you? I'm doing
I'm
good.
good.
I'm doing good. Very
Yes.
good. So we have another special guest that's going to join us on tonight, and her name is Dania Thorton. Can you come on in?
Hello, hello.
Hi, great evening. Great evening, ladies. I'm so glad that you're here with me. And listen, I am grateful that we're able to jumpstart this book club together.
Yes.
I love books, as I mentioned earlier. So look, let's just dive right on in. The book that we are going to be talking about tonight is called Pivot. And honestly, ever since I started reading this book, I've been seeing commercials. I've been hearing people's word pivot. And it's almost like, wow, we need to pay attention to what this whole meaning of pivot really means.
Yeah.
Everyone that's even watched this so how very pivot means, and if you Google it, you'll understand what the definition of it means. But there is a great example in the very beginning of this book that helps us navigate throughout the book to give us a better understanding. So let me just read that to us really quick. So here in the book, it gives us a great definition. It talks about, or an example, in a basketball game, right? A pivot refers to a player keeping one foot firmly in place while moving the other foot in any direction to explore, and I highlight the word explore, to explore passing options. Much like a basketball player, a successful pivot starts by planting your foot.
Yeah.
Wow. When I read that in the very beginning of the book, I thought that speaks great volume because I can imagine and I can think as you watch a game and you see guys and they're playing and they're holding that ball, they got one foot planted, but they're moving that other foot around to see what their next move is. I thought that was just a pretty great example of what this whole book is all about, right?
Right.
So let's dive on into it even the more. And as you all have read for yourself, you know that this particular book, it breaks it down into stages, which I thought was very, very creative, because it gives us a great overview of what it means to pivot in this particular text, in this particular example, or in this particular book. So let's jump right on into the first stage. And the first stage talks about plants. It talks about plants. And as it relates to this particular chapter or this particular stage, the plant is the crucifix, or I should say, the decisive or most important point or issue as it relates to developing your pivot. Who want to jump into that? Because that was a great, great start as it relates to pivot, as it relates to stage one in our journey.
I can start. When I first started reading the book,
Mm-hmm.
I found myself in the book. I found
Mm-hmm.
myself at maybe that particular stage,
Mm-hmm.
being employed at the same place for about 17 years,
Mm-hmm.
and also starting my practice, um, being self-employed. So I found I could relate to everything that the author was saying. I haven't moved too fast, but slowly but surely, I
Yeah.
feel myself moving, but I haven't fully jumped out. Um,
Mm.
and I could relate to it when she talked about the different stages, the whole introduction piece of being at that position, that
Yeah.
pivot point. So yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely relate as well. I haven't moved yet. Pray for me, y'all. Um, I haven't moved yet, and it's just because I don't feel like I have my ducks in a row.
Mm.
And it's it's funny that the first stage is planted because you with plants, timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you think about planting a seed, you don't plant the seed and 2 days later you have a plant.
Right.
It takes time. It takes process, it takes nurturing, it takes preparation. And so for me, I'm in the ground.
Mm. That's
But
good.
still working nevertheless.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just listen to both of you all share your personal testimonies as it relates to the pivot and also this first stage.
Yeah.
I want to jump down into chapter number 1, and it's found on page 39. And it says, in a pivot, your value creates boundaries and benchmarks for a big decision. And so, as you were mentioning, that you haven't moved yet, I think it's important that we understand that we create those boundaries, and it
Mhm.
helps us move from one point to another point. Because oftentimes, I know for me, speaking from experience, is that if I try to move too quickly or don't go by my own set boundaries, I begin to feel overwhelmed. And then when I find myself in that space, then I won't move, I won't pivot, and I'm just kind of stuck in that same spot. Can you all
Yeah.
relate to that?
Definitely.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
think that's where I am. And for me, it's not always moving quickly.
Mhm.
It's missing the
Mhm.
jump.
Yeah.
missing the timing because of fear or insecurities. And so
Mhm.
um, it's important to do the work, but it's also important to kind of face your fear and jump when it's time.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Melissa, did you want to chime in? I saw you.
Yeah, I think I might be jumping ahead. I hope not. But I just remember her saying that you have to look at your skills, your talents, what you
Mhm.
bring to the table, what you already done.
Mhm.
Because I'm probably like Dania as well. Sometimes I'm too cautious,
Mm.
and I second guess the move. And then the way God works with me is sometimes He just be like, "Well, you're not going to move. Well, I'm going to help you out." So
Yeah,
He helps me out a lot.
let me give you a push. Well, what you just said kind of goes into um further on into that chapter where it talks about creating your own compass,
Yeah.
which I think is so important that we understand that when you're in the movement of a pivot, that you still have to create, your own compass. You still have to create your own way. Because I know for me, I can't do it anybody else's way. I have to do it the way that I know that God shows me, that He shares it with me, that He gives me the insight. I just can't do it anybody else's way. I have to make sure that I create my own compass. And I think oftentimes we can kind of get lost in that. And so I think it's so important. Let me go back to this or add in addition to that is that when we create our own compass, and
Yeah.
I'm going down further in the book because it's so good and it's so much that we can share, that when you create your own compass, it allows you to identify your happiness.
Yeah.
It allows you to identify and create your own happiness formula. What do you think about that?
That piece was just amazing because it really pushes you to examine yourself,
Hmm.
examine the things that you like and what's important to you.
Absolutely.
And as I was reading it, I really took a look at like the tasks that I do working, the
Hmm.
things that I like, and what type of activities that really bring me joy and really bring me happiness.
Yes.
Um And I know she's like some things you can't put a price tag on it. Because
Hmm.
I think she gave like a quote about like 75,000. If you make over that,
Yeah, she did.
um, that it doesn't really your salary doesn't really determine your happiness.
Right.
So I just
Right.
thought that stuck out for me. Um, and it just made me think about what type of things that I really, really enjoy that brings me happiness. And what if anything, do I feel like that's missing that will
Yeah.
help get me to the next point that or
Hmm.
place where God will have me to be.
Hmm.
So I enjoyed that part.
I want to jump in and say this one thing, and then Dania, if you have anything to add to that. But you had made mention just a few seconds ago the things that make us happy, and I began to think about how we came out of the pandemic, and there's some things that we've been doing that you're like, I didn't even have to do that stuff anymore. It really didn't bring me any peace. It didn't really bring me any joy. So it goes back to creating your own happiness formula is the way that she has it in the book. And so at the end of the day, it's what makes you happy. It's what's going to help you in the process of the pivot. It's going to help you in the process of identifying what's most important. So, Dania, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, when I read that part is I thought more so of, and maybe because of where I am, but
Mm-hmm.
when you're in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
when you're the seed underground, like that's the time to, like Eon, let's say, doing your work, like,
Yeah.
spending time with yourself to kind of figure
Mm-hmm.
out, you know, what makes you happy, what gives you a sense of fulfillment,
Yeah.
what is your passion,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
drives you, and so yeah, it just made me think of like the seed being in the ground.
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing before we move
Absolutely.
on? As y'all was talking, and you took me back to the pandemic.
Yes.
So for me, I know we're in a pandemic, but I learned some things about myself during the pandemic. I learned that I love to work from home. Um, I was happy in my little bubble with my husband and my
Yeah.
children, like and I was studying and reading, and it was a good place for me to be
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And that was a happy space. And then
Mm-hmm.
the world started open up, and I had to go back to the office, and I realized recently, and I was saying it earlier today,
Mm-hmm.
I like to work from home. I don't want to go back to the office. So I realized that about myself in the pandemic. So
Yeah.
um,
That's good. Learning, it taught us so much about ourselves. It taught so
yeah.
much about ourselves. And then going even further into that particular stage, um, chapter 2, it talks about what excites you the most. And
Mhm.
again, we're talking about the pivot. We're talking about getting to that most important space, that
Yeah.
most important point. So when you're going in that direction, you have to ask yourself the question, what excites me? And I don't know about you, but I have, you know, ask the Lord, forgive my heart if I'm being selfish, but I want to do what makes me happy. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what does that speak to you when you see that? What what is it that excites you the most? I mean, can that be, in a space of being selfish, or is it a space of being, no, I want to care about me, self-care, take care of me as well.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have to be selfish when it comes to you sometimes.
Yeah.
And if you don't choose you, who's gonna choose you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't struggle with that at all.
Good, good, good,
I think
good.
as women, sometimes we're so used to taking care of everybody else.
Yes.
When we take care of ourselves, it makes us feel selfish.
Hmm.
But I heard someone say, and I can't remember who the author was. She said, "You're not selfish. You're self-full," meaning you're thinking of
Oh,
yourself
I
more.
like that.
So
yeah.
I thought that was powerful. But
Yeah.
you have to get to that place where that you're investing in yourself,
Hmm.
and the things that you like and that you enjoy,
Yeah.
because you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're not good for anybody else.
Absolutely. And with all of that being said, further down into the book, it
Yeah.
talks about identifying your strengths,
Yeah.
Yeah.
identifying where you are strong. And I think that, I don't want to harp on it, but I think that the pandemic did teach us a lot about ourselves. And it also showed us, and I'm not even trying to highlight that, but getting back to pivot and understanding the importance of knowing what your strengths are, so that you can move from point A to point B, is that we have to know exactly where our strengths are. And that, look, watch this. It's really okay that it doesn't look like someone else's.
Mhm.
That's what's so important. Because I think a lot of times people they stumble, they get jammed up when they're trying to look like, or trying to make it fit, or trying to make it. But no, I love the way in this particular chapter where it starts out by saying fuel your energy, and then it says you need to identify your own strengths. So let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, I thought that was good too, because you have to realize that you are a unique individual, and
Yeah.
what God has planted in you is different from the next
Hmm.
person.
Hmm.
And then to use those strengths, those things that you're good at, those
Hmm.
things that you enjoy, those talents, all that,
Hmm.
those are your strength, and nobody can do what you do. They can do something different, but they
Yes,
still can't do what you do, because God made you unique.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I also, in addition to that, I feel like it's good also to have a good inner circle
Yeah.
to be able to, because sometimes in my experience, some things I may not realize that I'm strong at
Hmm.
or weak at, because sometimes we think we're strong at things and we're
Yeah.
not.
Right.
But it's
Life
good
is
to
so
have
different.
Yes, yes, it's good to have a good group of friends or in a circle to let you know, like, no, this is your strength. Like you should do this, or no, that's not it.
Yeah. Stay in your
No,
own lane.
right? Don't
Stay
quit your
in your
day
own
job.
lane.
You know,
Yeah. That's good. That is
but
so
it
good.
has to be. I'm sorry, First Lady,
No, no,
but
no. Go ahead.
it has to be people that you trust
Mm,
with the authentic you.
yes.
Because everybody can't handle your authentic self.
Yes.
And
Now
so
that is
if
so
you
true.
don't feel comfortable with being yourself around
Mhm.
these people, then they may not be the ones that you kind of
Yeah.
use to gauge.
And
Yeah.
it's funny you said that because I get that message from the book. Like,
Yes.
just show up as you, be
Mhm.
authentic, be who you are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
As I read it, that was something I got out of it.
Yes. So this is kind of goofy, but this is a side note. And I thought about this the other night because I was having a conversation with someone and it came to my mind that peanut butter and jelly, although they come great together, peanut butter can't taste and can't be like jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to be in who you are and be okay and be happy about that, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
Be happy with being in your own space. And I think that is so important because oftentimes, whether you've gone through it yourself or you have friends or you have loved ones, and you witness them kind of trying to, fit in places that's not meant for them or have it's like just stick to being you. That's who God made you. Stick to
Yeah.
being you. You are the only one that can be the best you. So
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
It is.
In the whole journey of pivot and what it all stands for, we have to stay true to ourselves. So let's jump into stage two. Now, this is good. Stage two, it talks about the scan. Now, we talked about the stage one, stage one, we talked about the plant. And
Mhm.
now, stage two, it talks about the scan. So, what they're talking about in stage two, or what she's talking about, I should say, is that you will start looking for people. And this goes back to what you just said, Dania, is that you'll start looking for people, skills, and opportunities to help you get to where you are trying to go,
Yeah.
to help you get there. So here we are in scan. It's like you literally, like, if you think about a scanner on a printer or a separate scanner, and it scans and it's looking for people, it's looking for skills, and it's looking for opportunities to help you get there. Let's talk about that. I think that's a great space to kind of part for a second.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I think it's definitely good, and I see the benefit of it. When I think about the scan, I'm thinking about mentors, people
Mhm.
that you admire, people
Mhm.
who are at a place that you may want to be.
Mhm.
Once you figure it out, I think the hardest part was is sometimes you get to that place to figure out what it is that you want to do, or what is your next move. And then
Mhm.
once you figure that out, that's when you come to the scan where you're looking for people to help you to get to that next point. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is where my anxiety gets the best of me
Yeah.
because the idea of networking frightens me.
Oh, wow.
It really, and that's just me being transparent. Like
I get
it does. Because I'm just not, I appear to be an extrovert, but really I'm an introvert.
I
Like,
get it.
she says that, Lady Faye, but she really is good at networking and meeting people.
but deep down inside, like I just be like, oh my gosh, like Melissa does it naturally. For me, I have to work at it.
Wow,
Like,
you like get your mind ready. You gotta
right.
do this. You gotta
Like
do.
smile, listen, make eye contact. And then at the end of the day, I'm exhausted.
Wow. Yeah, I get it. I'm an introvert as well. I get it. I absolutely get it. Now, with that being said, Dania, I want to jump down further into this stage and further down to this chapter. It
Mhm.
talks about, so make yourself discoverable. That's the next part. Making yourself discoverable. How can you add unique value and build visibility? And so when I read this, I thought, oh my goodness, it speaks to what you just said. for persons who have challenges, putting themselves out there. But it was even earlier today, I saw on social media where this young guy was talking about how a lot of brands are kind of the same thing. And they talk about, well, what do you do to make yourself different? How do you pull yourself out? You might be selling the same thing, you might be in the same business, but what are you doing to stand out? What are you doing to make yourself discoverable? And I think that is such a space that many people have either they're experiencing it now, or they have experienced it and they're like, look, let me help you. I know how to get you from A to Z. And it might not be, this is what I did and it may not work for you, but let me just help you on your way. But that is a very, very big deal here. It's how do you make yourself discoverable when you are in a space like, look, I know what I want to do. I know how, I know what my brand is. I know what my business is. And, for the church world, I know what my ministry is. But how do I make myself discoverable? How can I be unique? Let's dive into that, because I think that's something that our viewers would also benefit from is how do we get to that point where you're okay with putting yourself out there? Let's talk about that.
I think it's the authenticity.
Yeah.
Because I feel like God has made us all unique. It's not by happenstance that we all look different. We're all made up differently. And so I feel like everyone has that unique factor. It's just a matter of finding what makes you different from everybody else.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. You have to get to a point where you're comfortable with yourself and you understand what you bring to the table. And when you understand what you bring to the table, it's like doors open for you. Like your gift will make room for you. You don't have to be like you mentioned earlier, like they may give you the formula, but that formula, you can follow that formula, but at some point it has to be, you have to show up in the process.
Yes. Someone just typed in by expanding your sphere, and that's so important. Putting yourself out there, showing up for those conferences, showing up for those events, showing up for those, I don't know what they call them, the meet and greets, things of that nature. And sometimes it can be very, if you're a person who's not, you don't like to be on the forefront, but you're like, listen, I have a product that I know the people need. I have a gift. I have a talent that I know God gave me, not for me just to sit on it for myself, but I need to give it out. And so we have to allow ourselves to get in a uncomfortable place for a short period of time so that we can try things out there. And I think also, if I can add this to it, is that for many people, they are afraid of being rejected. I think that has a lot to do with it. You're afraid of the no's, when a no is a part of the process. No, it's a part of the process. Trust me, I know. Who they call me, they need this, need that, and I go through a lot of work to get them what they need, and then I get a phone call, yeah, but not right now, and I'm like, okay. I put it all out there for you, and I get a no, but it's okay. I'm gonna keep on moving to the next. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. But making ourselves discoverable, making ourselves unique in what we do. All incorporate in what we do, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Okay, so listen, ladies, we have just a small time left, but we still have a lot to go. So I'm going to just highlight very, very quickly, because again, this was a very good resource for anyone that's in a space where you're like, I'm just trying to get to the next. I need to pivot to the next. So the third stage talked about the pilot, and the pilot basically talks about what is your purpose. The primary goal of the pilot phase is to ignite and validation. Right? It talks about generating ideas, testing those ideas, then taking small, smart risks to eventually inform bigger decisions about what's next. So the pilot, if we can allow us to think about shows that we see that come on television, sometimes brand new shows come out and they'll say, this is a pilot, which means they're testing it. They're trying to see what is out there, who's going to grab it, who's going to take it. And we have to do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So let's jump down to stage number 4, which is the launch. And I think we all, and I know our time is almost up, but let's just talk about the launch just for a second, which basically talks about making the big decision. I mean, making the actual step. I mean, literally typing up your resignation letter and putting it on your boss's desk.
Yes.
My time is up and I'm out. So, and I'm saying them as a witness. I did it. After I was leading up to my 20 years. I typed up my letter. I submitted. The whole time knees were shaking. I was like, God, I know I hear you, but I'm coming out of a comfortable place.
Yeah.
So the launch. Let's talk about that very, very quickly, and then we're going to move on to the very last stage, the launch. Let's talk about that. What's the nervousness about?
I think you stated it. It's just like coming out of that comfort zone. And at some point you do have to come out of that comfort zone. And you want to make sure that, I know for me, I want to make sure that I'm making the right decision.
Yeah.
And that I'm truly, truly hearing from God. So I know that's my issue, just coming out of that comfort zone, because that comfort zone is comfortable.
It's comfortable. And look, like me, I used to fuss, complain, and I was comfortable. But when I knew it was time for me to leave, I'm like, okay, I know I heard you. Here's my letter. I'm leaving. All right, Dania, you want to add to that? Then we're going to jump on in.
Yeah. So for me, it would be feeling not prepared enough. I always feel unprepared. Even when I prepare, I still feel unprepared.
Yeah. That might be a healthy place, though. I think that's still a healthy place, because I don't think we ever get to a space where we're always 100 all the time. To me, that says I still have room to grow, right? I still have room to grow. So the last stage is to lead. And which is actually the final stage. So after you plant, and then after you, somebody help me go back to my points, my stages. After you plant, after you stand, and then after you do that, you what? Pilot.
Yeah.
And after you pilot, you launch, and then after you launch, then you lead. And here we go. We're in it full force. And I'm going to close with this, that even in our leading, even as we've gone through the launch, we've gone through all those different stages, we've gone through those things, and we're in it, and this, she said this before, it's okay to flip the failures even when we launch, even when we're leading, because sometimes things happen and you have to recalibrate. You have to kind of do things differently. You have to kind of keep moving. But even with all of that, it's okay, because mistakes and failures, it's a part of the process. Yeah. All right, Melissa, close us out, and we're gonna go for the evening.
Okay. You want us to close us out in prayer?
Well, no, actually, your closing remarks. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And Dania too.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Yes. The book was amazing, and it really, for me, it was nothing but self-examination, examine where I've been, where I am now, and where God has taken me. And it made me think of the steps that I need to continue to take to get where I'm going. So it definitely was relatable. It was definitely worth reading. And it's something that I think I can go back to, like this year, maybe review it again to see where I'm at. The examples, the stories, was just amazing to hear people processing the things that they went through. So definitely worth reading. I hope everybody enjoyed it tonight. So,
Dania, you want to give some closing just real quick?
Yes.
We're going to be talking.
Yes. I definitely enjoyed the book. It definitely took me to a place of self-evaluation, and just it did encourage me to kind of, overcome some of my anxieties and fears that I have regarding my own personal things that God has put in me, and just going out there and just, not jumping with both feet, but maybe wiggle my toes in the idea.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Of doing my own thing.
some movement, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Some movement. Well, listen, thank you all so much for joining me on tonight and for having this great discussion. I believe, everyone that's on here with us tonight, you receive some type of nugget that will help in your process, that will help you in your journey as you pivot.
Yes.
It was a great read, and I'm telling you, if you know someone who didn't grab it, just encourage them. Go online, grab. You can do it in your ebook, however you prefer. But it is a great read. I'm thinking just like you, Melissa, just review it again in a year and just kind of see where you are, in the process. But I'm excited to even announce that next month we will have another book club discussion, and we will have Melissa herself will be our book club host on next month. And you'll see the flyer come out, and the name of the book is Hold Me Tight. And February is relationship theme month, and
Yeah.
so that's going to be a good one. I'm excited about that. Look, I already got all the books in my cart, so all I got to do is just hit buy and keep it moving, right? And so, thank you all again for being with me, and everyone that's on this live with us tonight, Facebook, YouTube. Thank you all so much for joining us. And it's our hope that you enjoyed the discussion on tonight. And again, you want to go ahead and grab these books yourself. What I like also about these books that we will be presenting is that they're not technically like churchy books, but these books will begin to allow you to expand your thinking, expand your vocabulary, if you will. And so I'm grateful for these opportunities. And so look, until we come back together again, happy reading and have a wonderful evening.
Hey, listen, thank you so much, ladies. Awesome conversation tonight. Listen, I don't know about you, but I was enriched tonight. And one thing I learned for sure, it's good to be planted, but make sure that you're always ready for the pivot. Listen, as you know, we have so many exciting things going on here at Paradise. As First Lady just mentioned, Melissa, who was on tonight, will be our host next month in the month of February. We have some other exciting guests throughout the year. Every single month, we'll have a different host hosting us. And I'm excited about what God's ready to do. Also, bear in mind that this coming Sunday is going to be the last Sunday of the month of January, Then the first Sunday in February, we will have Pastor Philip Sundar all the way from San Antonio, Texas. CJC Life Church will be our guest. We're getting ready to go into our news revival on the 31st and the 1st of February. This Saturday is going to be our vision board party registration that you need to partake in, $50 registration fee. I'm saying there's so many great things here at Paradise. You can get lost in the sauce, but one thing is for sure, two things for certain. God is still exalted and the devil is still defeated. Listen, I love you with the love of God. I will see you throughout the week as I continue to be your eChurch host. Listen, I love you with the love of God. God bless you. I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us here at Paradise Presents Between the Pages.